As a teacher who works many days with artists, as as a teacher and story editor and writer herself who works day in and day out with artists, let me just let me just quickly tell you the philosophy behind a shitty first draft. It's not about making a first draft that you hate. It's not about making a first draft that has a lot of problems. It's about getting the work out there and plopping it on the page and saying, oh, okay, I can work with this. It's kind of like thinking to yourself that you have all your childhood trauma figured out. Sorry for who this affects the most, but it's kind of like thinking to yourself that you have all your childhood trauma figured out, and then you have a kid and you realize, oh, no, because you only know if you've really got it figured out. Truly, it's by facing a child at the same age that you were and not reacting in the way that your parents taught you to react to certain situations, especially if those reactions are unhealthy. And being able to edit it in real time. Wow, that's going to hurt someone's feelings for sure. I do not apologize. It's just a fact. You don't even have to have a kid. I found by teaching children and helping them at the same vulnerable age that I was at when I had my most difficult moments, there was ways that I learned, oh yeah, I cannot say to them, oh, you should be doing this better. You should know this by now, or all that kind of weird stuff you end up saying to people. Yeah, that's just weird stuff people used to say to you. All of your perfectionism, all of those fears, they don't really come from within. Those are words that actual people have said to you in the past, or sometimes that you witnessed being told to other people. Ooh. And essentially, you internalize that message. You said, yeah, people should know how to do X, Y, and Z, even if it is above their age range, or even if it's something that there's no way you could have known how to do that because it's your first time doing something. Or you should know how to do this perfectly, even though you had very little practice. And I think in particular because writing or the arts often have very little practice. You don't get to make a lot of shitty first drafts in class. The first time you do something, oftentimes teachers, if they don't have very good training, maybe they know how to teach art. They know what art is. They know how to teach that art to another person, but they often don't know how to facilitate the practice rounds where you don't give any feedback and you don't overly praise someone either. You just be neutral. It's just a fact. Okay, you made a thing. How do you feel about it? What do you think? What do you like about it? What do you want to change? What is something you struggled with? What did you realize on the other side? What were you trying to do and didn't quite accomplish? These are all neutral questions. They're not judgmental. And oftentimes, I don't know about you, but when I see writers in TV shows and movies, they're all encouraged to be assholes. They're all encouraged to talk to each other in a sarcastic or funny way. Every moment is a moment for a little bit of witty repartee. Is it? Or could you just shut up, right? Is it about your ego right now? About making you feel big while another person feels small? Or is it just about being supportive or being aware or learning from somebody else's decisions to understand, oh, this is an interesting new way to create art that I would have never considered. It's about looking at the technique and figuring out what does the technique mean and how do we implement it. And this can be done not just in painting or sculpting, but in writing too. I always try to structure my classes and my workshops around this concept of neutrality, where we are starting to develop where I really ask my students to develop a refined eye in how they approach the topic of their work, and also in appreciating and reflecting on other people's work. Because oftentimes when people are giving critique, especially on a shitty first draft, they're going, oh, that's not what I would do, or that's not how I would approach. Nobody asked you. Nobody asked you that question, and if they did, they shouldn't have. You could be quiet about that. That's not really relevant. You're not the artist here. It's not your eyeball that you're using to look, or it's not your eyeball that we're using to reveal your perspective on somebody else's art. It's about making sure that you help this person to reveal the best version of their own artistic process. And they are supposed to help you reveal the best version of your artistic process. How can they do that if they're trying to be you and if you're trying to be them and everybody's trying to just be another person? I cannot be Maya Angelou. I cannot be Toni Morrison. I cannot be Octavia Butler. I cannot be anyone other than me. So at the end of the day, the real ideas and compulsions behind a shitty first draft is not in actually making something that is purposely shitty or horrible. It's about letting go of the perfect ideal, right? There is no perfect concept. I think, is it Sophocles? No, Aristotle. Hold on, let me look. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Aristotle, philosopher. Perfection. Was I like? No. Is it the theory of the caves? Yeah. In Plato's cave, Aristotle kind of assumed this, and I'm doing this off memory mostly, so take that with a grain of salt. But he takes this concept of the idea that if you're a prisoner inside a cave, you've never been outside of the cave, you can only imagine the perfect form of a thing. Let's imagine that we as writers are imagining the perfect. We as writers are imagining. But whatever. It's a sentence. It works. It's fine. So we as writers imagine the perfect script. And we have it in our mind. It's not really that we know what's on every single page. We just imagine it bound and crafted and our names on the front and it's shining. And that's it. Yeah, it's just perfect. It's a perfect, ideal script. What is it about? Who knows? Who are the characters? Nobody knows. What are their challenges? How do we move from page to page? That's not a part of the perfection. The perfection is the totality of the thing. And we imagine it in our minds because we're not in the real world where there's difficulties, there's challenges, there's obstacles to overcome. And I think for a lot of people, that's how they're taught to approach their art. You imagine the perfectionism, you imagine the perfect form of the thing, and then you are supposed to go out into a far more difficult world that exists within the cave and create that thing. And if you're in a class or a workshop where you learning from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 and so on and so forth until you get to a much higher level is not accepted, then of course you're always going to struggle with your first draft because you want it to be at this level that you're not at yet. I think even a lot of writers who, if they get proper training, they'll realize, oh, my idea is not bad. I just don't have the tools necessary to create this idea yet. Whether it's the life experience or the knowledge of how to write certain, what do I want to call it? Certain types of, just certain types of stories, story elements. There we go, words. I'm going to leave a lot of my mistakes in here so that you can see, this is how it goes, I'm not working from a script. I think you can tell. I think you can tell. And at the end of the day, this is a shitty first draft, not just of my first video ever, although I've struggled. I've had so many ideas for what I wanted to make for a first video. And there was always something not quite right. And I think this, in essence, is the perfect foundation. It's the perfect foundation for what I want to create as part of this channel, the ethos of this channel, if you will. There's only going to be one first draft. Everything after that is so much easier. After that, you get to learn so many different skills. And the question often is, did you get taught the skills necessary in order for you to write what you want to write? Or were you berated for not being the kind of writer that, I don't know if this has happened to other people, but like being berated for not being the type of writer that your teacher imagined you would be is such a weird place to be in, because how do you defend yourself against that? What am I supposed to say? Sorry, I'm not who you perceived me to be while living inside the cave of your own imagination? Okay, does that have anything to do with the script I actually wrote here? And what you'll also find is in Plato's allegory, or in Plato's cave, the allegory often talks about the idea that the prisoners, the people who are imprisoned within the cave, do not want to leave it. And in order to get better as an artist, as a creative, as a writer, you have to go out into the real world with its real challenges and its real development levels. There are no montages to speed run you through everything you need to learn as a writer. There's just going to be life. And it's gonna life. Life is gonna be lifing. And that's okay. I think if you can find a teacher who actually teaches you skills, but isn't so soft on you that they just praise everything you do. Nobody wants that little, what is it? I don't know what that's called. It's like a little monkey in a music box and it's just like claps, 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 claps. Nobody wants that because that's not helpful either. I want to improve. Everyone wants to improve. I truly believe that. But it means that the shitty first draft can't stay at a first draft level, but I don't want to improve it by transforming it into another person's vision. I want to improve what I have made. I want to improve my skills, my vision. And if we're doing this correctly, right? If we're doing the shitty first draft correctly, at the other side of it, you go, oh, before you even start, the next time you go to write something, you'll understand how to craft something in a smarter, shorter way. For example, I don't drive, but I've heard this before. People who learn how to parallel park, the first time you do it, you have to like follow all these steps. Okay, put my hands here, do this, check this mirror, da da da. By the time you become an expert, you've practiced, you've developed this skill, you don't need to do all that check. I will say, my stepmom is one of the best drivers I've ever seen. This woman, I think she feels offended when the AI tries to help her with parallel parking. She's so good. She's better than the machine. And she can, there's no nook, no cranny she can't squeeze her little car into. And I think when you develop that real skill level, you won't need to, you will feel really confident in your abilities. You'll feel so capable that the first draft will still be terrifying. It's always going to be terrifying, but it won't feel terrifying for the same reasons. You're not going to feel that your ideas might be bigger than your skill set. You're going to feel like, oh God, do I seriously want to do research for all of that or develop a new language set? That's a lot of work. And so the first draft becomes scary, not because you have no idea what to expect, but it's worse. You know exactly what to expect. And kind of, if depending on how you approach things and what your mindset is, you might feel just a little bit more lazy. But I think it's a cool problem to have in comparison to the problem that comes with fear. Yeah, I think I just don't want to feel afraid as a writer. And I don't want to be afraid of shitty first drafts. But shifting my mindset on them really helped. Ooh, it really helped. And I think, no, I thought I was going to say more, but I am tired. And I want to just go do yoga and go to bed. Okay. Best of luck. Best of luck.